and now fights for others because she knows that trauma doesn't ever just expire.
It's made me realize that for all the years that I beat myself up for something that I didn't do to myself isn't something that I need to carry around with me anymore.
Courtney Butler's coach was never criminally charged. Prosecutors in Oregon said there just wasn't enough evidence. Even if that were to change today, that coach cannot face any charges because in Oregon, once a child sex abuse victim reaches the age of 30, they can no longer press charges. In Olympia, Drew Mickelson, King 5 News.
The greatest president in United States history, Donald J. Trump, right, Georgia?
One of the president's biggest beefs with Green was about her harping on Jeffrey Epstein.
We did talk about the Epstein files, and he was extremely angry at me that I had signed the discharge petition to release the files. I fully believe that those women deserve everything they're asking. They're asking for all of it to come out. They deserve it. And he was furious with me.
What did he say?
He said that it was going to hurt people. I had asked him, these women are the ones that were hurt. They were raped at 14. They were raped at 16. I watched them stand in front of the press trembling, their bodies shaking as they were telling their stories, many of them for the first time. And I had told him, I said, you know, you have all kinds of people come in the White House. Have these women come in the White House. These women deserve to be heard.
He said to you, people will get hurt.
People will get hurt. I don't know what that means. I don't know who they are.
Reason. When Congressman Massey and I pointed this out to the Department of Justice, they acknowledged their mistake. And now they have revealed the identity of these six powerful men. These men are Salvatore Navora, Zorab Mikoladze, Leopig Leonor, Nicola Caputa, Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem, CEO of Dubai Ports World, and billionaire businessman Leslie Wexner, who was labeled as a co-conspirator by the FBI. Now, my question is, why did it take Thomas Massey and me going to the Justice Department to get these six men's identities to become public? And if we found six men that they were hiding in 2 hours, imagine how many men they are covering up for in those 3 million files.
So I ask you, Attorney General Pam Bondi, why did you shut down this investigation last July, and why have you not prosecuted former Prince Andrew?
I don't believe you asked Merrick Garland these questions when he was Attorney General and set before.
I agree with you.
You twice.
I've been claiming my time. I agree with you. I agree with you. During the Biden administration, I called for people looking at Epstein files. Merrick Garland dropped the ball, as did Attorney General Bill Barr, as did Alex Acosta, a whole string of failures. But you are in charge. You have the power to change things, to hold these men accountable, and you're doing the opposite.
You ever accuse me of a crime?
I believe you just lied under oath, and this is on videotape. You said there's no evidence of crime. I'm showing you. Here is a witness statement who called into the FBI's Threat Operations Center. He drove Donald Trump around in a limo. He overheard what Donald Trump said to Jeffrey on his cell phone. He was so angry, he was going to stop a limo and hurt Donald Trump. And he met a girl who said she was raped by Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. She later had her head blown off, and officers at the scene said that could not have been suicide. No one at the Department of Justice interviewed this witness. You need to interview this witness immediately. Epstein should rot in hell. So should the men who patronized his operation. And as we sit here today, there are over 1,000 sex trafficking victims, and you have not held a single man accountable.
They released this email in the document production. Literally the worst thing you could do to the survivors, you did. And they're getting phone calls. A lot of these people didn't want to be known. And we know you touched the document because you redacted one name and you redacted the lawyer's name, but you left the survivor's name there. The next document I want to show you, and that was in the title, the victims' survivors' names, all right? The title of this one is Child Sex Trafficking. Co-conspirators, fully redacted. And By the way, and redact them here. Les Wexner is in this. Now, your deputy attorney general said, oh, well, he appears hundreds of times in the files. But he doesn't appear in this file until I forced you to release it, where he's listed as a co-conspirator, not to tax evasion, but to child sex trafficking, not to prostitution, not to money laundering, child sex trafficking. So I have several questions for you. Who's responsible? Are you able to track who in your organization made this massive failure and released the victims' names? Are you able to track who it was that obscured Les Wexner's name as a co-conspirator in an FBI document? You have that kind of accountability?
We corrected that within 40 minutes. He was already, you're acting like everybody's trying to cover up Wexner's name.
Reclaiming my time.
I'm going to answer this question.
Reclaiming my time. Mr.
This
Chairman.
isn't how this works.
Can I have my time?
Mr.
Chairman.
The gentlelady can give her answer.
Within 40 minutes, Wexner's name was added back.
Within 40 minutes of me catching you red-handed.
There was one redaction out of
he's
over
listed as a co-conspirator.
and we invited you in.
Gentlemen.
This guy has Trump derangement syndrome. He needs to get. You're a failed politician. You need to get on
you to watch the video.
Chairman, please restore his time and.
Did you ask Merrick Garland that the last 4 years? Did you talk about Epstein?
I am reclaiming my time. I'm glad you're asking about Merrick Garland.
You don't get to reclaim
because
time
this
when
is
you don't.
bigger than Watergate.
When I don't answer the question
This
the way
goes
you want.
over 4 administrations. You don't have to go back to Biden. Let's go back to Obama. Let's go back to George Bush. This cover-up spans decades, and you are responsible.
The challenge I have today, what bothers me today about this hearing, Madam AG, is what's the message we're sending out there on Main Street? Shouldn't ask a question I don't know an answer to, but I'm going to ask the victims behind you right now. First, can you please stand up? And then, can you please raise your hand if you think after everything you've heard today, you feel that our AG, the feds, have your back? Do we have your back? Raise your hand if you're confident that we got your back. And that's the issue, Madam AG. We've got to make sure that victims stand up and report the crimes. Otherwise, we're going to be taking a step backwards.
As I said before, to any victims, we ask them to come forward to...
This is why I just realized, wow, number one, it's so widespread. This is worldwide. 2, it wasn't just men who were predators. There were women who were predators, too. Some of the other documents that I uncovered and read through were really the harrowing details of 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds that were recruited by Epstein, that were groomed by Epstein. And not only were they raped and sexually assaulted, they were then paid to recruit other girls to come into the trafficking ring. And we're talking a 14-year-old child. There were parents that allegedly would travel with their underage daughter to places like New York, to places like Palm Beach, to lend out their teenage daughter to Jeffrey Epstein and his business partners. So when you read that, it's really, it's shocking. I read this morning in some of these files that were printed out. I have a huge stack of files. I couldn't even bring all of them with me to South Carolina today because there was just too many that I had printed off that I want to research, and then I'm going back to the DOJ to spend more time there. I'm probably the last person that should have been given access to the Epstein files, because if there's one person who can get to the bottom of this, it will be me. If I spend the next 10 months doing this, that's what I'm going to do. But there was an event with several Hollywood celebrities that the Epstein group was trying to rent out a venue to do a movie showing with these Hollywood celebrities long after he was convicted and served time in prison for being a pedophile. And so when I would see this, these are names everybody knows. These are movie stars. These are media pundits. These are billionaires. It's really unbelievable, and it's shocking what has gone on here. The other thing that's shocking is that the DOJ hasn't made a single arrest of anybody else save for one accomplice. And we all know that is not humanly possible. You can't have thousands of victims and only one accomplice. Somebody drove the car, flew the planes, somebody opened the doors, someone was the housekeeper. All these properties, there were witnesses. And then there are the cases of some of these billionaires who are allegedly involved in the sex trafficking operation that were paying money in settlement agreements, in civil settlement agreements, monies to other countries. I read a document this morning with Leon Black's name in it, allegedly, that paid off women in settlements for allegedly being sexually assaulted. So I'm going to get to the bottom of this. Number one. Two, I'll be focusing on, what commonalities there were in South Carolina, because I've heard there may be other victims that are here as well. But my most and my greatest concern is that nothing's going to happen after this. And my biggest priority is to make sure that we get the information out there so that people go to jail. And if the DOJ isn't going to do their job, then I will do their job for them. And if it means we shame these people out of civil society and out of existence, then that's what we're going to do. If they're not going to go to jail, then that's what we're going to do. The other thing that I realized this week is that this goes back decades. This isn't just the current administration. This isn't just the Biden administration. This isn't just Obama. This goes back to George Bush's administration, to his DOJ, to his FBI, to prosecutors in Florida. I want to bring in Acosta. I want to know why this deal was done. The victims weren't asked about settling it out with Epstein and why that happened. I want to know why these predators were protected and the victims exposed. And as we all know this week, there were victims' names and contact information that were made public. And yet you've redacted the names of potential predators, but you revealed the names of potential victims. Some of these women have never come forward publicly and have always been Jane Doe. And then at the same time, you understand a little bit better why none of these kinds of cases ever get prosecuted anywhere. I mean, when was the last time a rapist really went to jail and served big prison time for doing something like this in the state of South Carolina? I came forward over 2 years ago with video and photographic evidence of women being abused and not a single arrest over 2 years later. And leadership in this country starts at the top. This is a cultural issue where women are treated like second-class citizens. It's been going on for thousands of years. And I want to thank the Epstein victims for their bravery, for their courage, for coming forward and being vulnerable and telling the truth, regardless of the attacks. And now they're being blamed, now they're being attacked, just like most women are who come forward. I've been attacked too. But people have to go to jail. And if we can make this happen with the Epstein and the Epstein cases.
The system certainly didn't die with him because the system is still protecting him now. Who has been held accountable for any of this? I mean, you mentioned the fact that I'm running for governor in the state of California. I made a tweet the other day. I said, listen, as governor of California, I would direct the attorney general to immediately open investigations into anyone who is named as committing crimes inside this state or connected to it, because human trafficking, sexual abuse of children, all of these things actually, it needs to be accountability for them. Well, where's the accountability? And are we hearing the whole story? Definitely not, right? This is being, put out in a fashion that I think is intentionally disorienting for people, right? And intentionally incomplete. So that people have to kind of struggle to make the meaning out of it and become desensitized, essentially, to the accounts. What's allegation? What's confirmed? What are the things that are more conspiratorial and speculative, and what are the things for which there's ironclad, rock solid evidence, right? All of it is designed to stupefy and distract.
And I guess as somebody who's also been trying to make sense of it, like you say, it's really disorientating, the amount of information that's been dropped, the manner in which it's been dropped. But I think what's also weird to me at this point is that it feels like much of the conversation is focused on the idea of, Epstein and his acolytes being pedophiles, which no doubt that they were. But surely the files show us more than just a pedophile network, right? So we see Epstein woven through elite networks everywhere. He was at the center of conversations about major international issues, including Brexit and global pandemics. He was passing on insider secrets about the 2008 financial crisis. He was given confidential documents by a British prince. He plotted with Mossad to seize frozen Libyan assets after Gaddafi's downfall. He's linked to the Rothschilds banking empire. He's having conversations with tech figures about eugenics. He's setting up secret meetings for India, Mongolia, the Emiratis, to name just a few. His relationship with the Norwegian diplomat Terje Rod Larsen even puts the entire Oslo Accords into doubt. So, who exactly was Jeffrey Epstein?
So on the first day of Ramadan, at least for some, I would just simply say that the Antichrist himself, the Dajjal himself, would have difficulty pulling together a more impressive CV than Jeffrey Epstein, connected to every single manner of oppression, destabilization, political violence. Yeah, of course, the monstrous crimes against children are going to draw attention, as well they should. But yeah, Epstein was behaving for all of the world like a Mossad asset that was, connected to multiple political, financial networks, and utilizing those networks in order to produce very, very specific outcomes. One of the things that you didn't mention that caught my attention, just from a cultural standpoint, as somebody that grew up in the hip hop era, in the United States, was a message from a Barclays CEO back when, there was a Brazilian mass uprising. And Epstein was essentially reassuring the Barclays CEO that nothing like this could ever happen in the U.S. Have you watched the Super Bowl ads? All you see is hip black men and beautiful cars with beautiful white women. The people that are supposed to be revolting are sedated, and we have Jay-Z to thank for it. Right. So it was not just political and financial, but it was also social and cultural manipulation, right? The creation of a world wherein all of us are distracted, by the various shiny, glittery things, of a falling empire, and incapable of organizing ourselves to resist against this ruling class, which demonstrates that it holds commoners in utter contempt. Like they essentially treat the planet Earth as though it is a resort for 500 people, and the rest of us are just staff at the resort.
I mean, staff is a kind word. I feel like we're NPCs at this point. Genuinely, I feel like they just think we're NPCs. Are we even real? Do these children actually feel pain? I mean, when you read some of these emails, it doesn't feel like you're talking about humans that see other humans in front of them.
Couldn't agree more. The dehumanization is absolute and complete. Absolutely agree with you.
And on that note, it's been weeks, of course, since we saw the first batch released. Is there anything in what you've seen or read so far which is burnt into your retina that you cannot unsee?
Yeah, there are a couple of things. We'll start with the light and move to the more grave. Someone said that Trump appears more in the Epstein files than Jesus appears in the Bible, and you could rename them, the Trump files. He doesn't serve as that connective tissue the same way that Epstein does, and so I think that latter characterization, misses a bit of the point. But yes, the president of the United States is obviously deeply compromised. The things that I can't unsee actually are echoes of ongoing forms of brutalization, dehumanization, and exploitation in America. Like nothing that I saw with respect to child sex trafficking couldn't be applied to Thomas Jefferson, one of America's most famous presidents, who raped repeatedly an enslaved woman, Sally Hemings, when she was 12 or 13 years old. Never freed her. Owned his own children. The allegations of cannibalism that have been also threaded throughout the files. We know that Nat Turner, after Nat Turner was lynched in 1831, following a huge slave rebellion, he was butchered and people ate him. The great Black intellectual W.E.B. Du Bois, started out, I think, as a bit of a kind of liberal, and became a committed socialist by the end of his life. He was once walking through downtown Atlanta, and at a butcher shop saw Negro knuckles for sale. that were from a man named Sam Case, who had been lynched a few days earlier. So all of the kind of barbarism that I saw burned into those documents was blood and tears that I have seen written on every single page of the history of American empire. So it wasn't so much that it was, fantastical. It was rather that it was all too familiar.
Trafficking is an international criminal enterprise, organized crime where the commodity isn't guns or drugs, it's human beings.
Sell the drugs once and they're gone, and you need to go and get more drugs to sell. But with a human being, they're reusable commodity, and you are able to sell them over and over and over again.
And human traffickers are drawn to that human commodity in Washington for two main reasons: the state's unique geography and ease of access to victims.
Not only does Seattle have ports, Tacoma has ports, we have a port here in Olympia. We are on the I-5 corridor, and that runs all the way from Canada, pretty much down into Mexico. And if you look at the National Human Trafficking Hotline data and their heat-seeking map, the entire corridor down the whole West Coast, with a population, high-density population in red, the whole coast is on fire.
And over time, it's gotten worse. Federal sex and labor trafficking records show in 2015, Washington State had 194 identified victims. The numbers dipped during the pandemic, but in 2021, the number landed at 337, up more than 70% in the 6-year time frame.
Behind the scenes on the internet, and behind closed doors and in luxury apartments here in downtown Seattle, there is a pervasive sex trafficking market that's going on that's victimizing women, children, and men every single day.
The feds, tasked with trying to stamp out human trafficking, say victims often don't see a way out.
In some cases, some of the victims may not be aware that they're being trafficked, or the situation they've been put in is so difficult for them, and they are so fearful that they're afraid to come to law enforcement.
I've seen some really heart-wrenching things in my time working these investigations, from child exploitation to human trafficking.
The promise is a broken promise within labor trafficking and sex trafficking.
Experts in the field, like Jerry Muma, say the ruse traffickers use is consistent and effective. The offer of opportunity, money, even love.
Promising them money.
Hey, I've got a great job for you.
Safe place to stay.
And then you get there and you're not getting paid. The job wasn't what you thought it was. I've been on labor trafficking farms where folks are forced to sleep on cardboard boxes, eat outside in a common pot, no running water.
Jerry was lucky. She was able to get out.
In my early 30s, I was able to get completely out of the industry. My clean and sober 24-year date was April 11th, and that was also my last day in any type of exploitation situation. I call human trafficking a equal opportunity destroyer. There can be anybody. It doesn't matter what your socioeconomic level is. It doesn't matter your race, your ethnicity, age.
Jerry says what happened to her can happen to anyone. And to solve it in a hub like Washington State is going to take everyone, even you.
I use this really technical term. It's called TYG. Trust your gut. And if something doesn't feel right, look into it a little bit more. The general public, if they see something, they need to be calling the National Human Trafficking Hotline. Nobody is in too deep, and I believe that everybody has resilience. There is hope, and there is a future for you.
So that every soul suffering will know that we're not